I'm really uh, uh, happy and honored to be given this job of introducing Ramesh here. Uh, in fact, for the good part of the last 2.5 days, he's been our host and been guiding us through this wonderful sessions after sessions. Uh, so Ramesh has over 30 plus years of professional experience in software and systems engineering field. His core competencies include software process improvements, training, coaching, audits, and assessments in staff mentoring and management. Ramesh has extensive experience establishing process improvement programs for various organizations based on standards like ISO 9001, ISO 13485, ISO 14001, ISO 18001, ISO 20001, ISO 22301, 27001, 27701, etc. Right, and also on frameworks like CMMI, COVID 2019, and regulations, a host of them: EU GDPR 2018, HIPAA 1996, CCPA 2019, PDPB 2019 India. And his work requires communicating with executives to build trust and commitment, as well as coaching all levels of staff impacted by the software process. On the work front, Ramesh is currently associated with Carl Zeiss, taking care of QA, ISMS, data privacy, cybersecurity aspects. Prior to Carl Zeiss, Ramesh was chief manager at Siemens, part of the corporate quality team there. Spent more than 12 plus years at Siemens, where he led various process improvement programs and certification like ISO 9001, ISO 13485, 14001, 18001, 20000, and a whole host of others. And once again, framework like CMMI. Ramesh has also worked as head process excellence at Symphony Teleca within the software products and platform division. But what we most remember Ramesh for is the excellent and pivotal role that he plays in FDPPI all along. And he has also played a very, very active role in assisting Navisar in finalizing the PDPSI standards. And I'm really waiting to hear to those detailed session about PDPSI, because I believe that, in a country like India, as Navisar always says, because companies and people working in companies in India need to know a whole lot of other privacy laws, and a PDPSA like solution actually comes handy in creating a unified framework for compliance to different laws in one go. As far as professional certifications and accreditations go, oh my God, Ramesh has got a huge list of certifications. I don't know how he manages all of them. Certified PMP from PMI, USA Certified Scrum Master, Certified ISO 9001 2015, QMS Lead Auditor from DNVGL, ISO 13485 2016 Certificate of Training by DNVGL, India, Certified ISO 27001 2013 Lead Auditor, ISO 27701 PIMS Lead Auditor by CPG Assurance, Certified ISO 22301, DSCI Certified Privacy Lead Assessor by DSCI India, Certified ISTQB, which is the International Software Testing Qualification Board trainer. And I can vouch for his training capabilities because I've been trained by him on GDPR as part of the FDPPI program, and the kind of a passionate trainer that he is. I mean, after you go through a session by Ramesh, all other sessions look pretty dull and boring. So, Navi sir, maybe you should sequence Ramesh's sessions in such a way that it doesn't spoil the other people's session, because the kind of excellent trainer that he is, and the slick presentation, brilliant presentation that he provides there, after that, on a relative basis, everything else seems to be very, very, ordinary, right? And then, of course, he's a certified software quality analyst by QAI, certified ITIL v3.0 foundations, certified software test engineer by QA USA, certified ITIL 3.2 foundation by P&G India, and the software test engineer by CST by QA USA. They're just some of them. And in fact, I had to select some of the most important, what I felt was the most important one. Thank you, Ramesh sir. Really a pleasure introducing you, and my honor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Subbarayan. Really, the pleasure is mine as well as the pressure. Yeah, the kind of introduction what you've given. Thank you very much once again. And let me share my screen. Kindly help me whether you are able to see my screen as well as I'm audible. Yeah. One of you can please confirm. Hello.
Yes, we can see your screen. Ramesh,
Great,
yeah.
great. Thank you very much. Very warm good evening and warm welcome to all of you for this session. Thank you very much for joining this session and last 2 days and including today. Great effort by Mr. Navi leading from the front as part of his organization FDPPI and the hardcore team members of FDPPI. Quite interesting. Would like to really appreciate it. And as I always say, as a trainer, I will do justice for your time because I really respect your time, your effort in attending these sessions. Thank you. And quite interestingly, the topic of mine today is going to be Unified Data Protection Framework with DTS, what we call Data Trust Core. Hello, able to see my screen again? I'm sorry, really. Yeah.
Yes, Ramesh, sir, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I was thrown out. Typical Murphy's Law. So what I'm going to do is that before I really talk on this topic, which is quite interesting, quite unique, not only to FDPPI, we can say with a pride that for each one of us in our country, the first of its sort to bring out a standard for privacy information systems. I understand. There are ISO standards, there are BIS standard, but from one of the private initiative by FDPPI kind of organization, I'm sure that it is unique on its own. And let's see what is quite interesting going forward. Before I really touch upon, I'm sure that last 7 sessions, quite interestingly, my session is on 8, probably. I'm trying to give it the solution for what are the problems we had discussed so far in the last 2 days. Yeah. Why we suddenly talking about the need for this kind of security and privacy systems? We all know in the call, we are all very seniors, right? As just Mr. Rishit's session, last session, quite interesting. Yesterday, we had a session from Dr. Triveni, SP of Lucknow, cybersecurity cell. Oh, quite interesting. So I'm not talking only the theory. We are experienced, we have experienced it, we are experiencing it in our organizations, in our day-to-day life. 45% of the organizations, have at least one compromised account. 29% of the breaches involved use of the stolen credentials. Look at it. Oh, quite interesting. The average total cost of the data breach is $3.92 million we are talking about. 32% of the breaches involved phishing. Oh, quite. I'm really thrilled to connect this bullet with the previous session. He talked about it, right? A retired gentleman. And like this so much. I always tell in my training that you look at the Times of India, any national newspaper, at least 3 to 4, somebody raising hand, I don't know. All right, phishing becomes a kind of big problem, right? And spear phishing, targeting to an individual directly. Phishing is generic. I do not know whom I'm trying to target. I'm trying to send a phishing mail across the organization without knowing that who is going to really reply back to me. But spear phishing, quite interesting, attacking the individual directly. 43% of the breaches involve small businesses. Malicious attacks are the most common and most expensive cause of breaches. Oh, quite interesting. Do we have a solution for all these things? Obviously, we need to establish a security or privacy management system or privacy system. Yeah. If you look at it, the advantages are obviously gives transparency between the stakeholders, as we have seen, right? Stakeholders could be your customer, your consumers, your vendors, your supporting partners across globe I'm talking about. Provides data privacy assurance to the privacy customers, your stakeholders again, right? Assurance part. First of all, assurance to ourselves that what we are doing is, fine, and to the whole world. And the next part is provides more collaborative approach Obviously, always the question haunts. Even in the last 2.5 days session, we are talking about whose responsibility the privacy is going to be. Is it business? Is it management? Is it an implementer? Is it a data subject? Oh, beautiful, beautiful. That's why I wanted to put it as these kind of systems gives us the collaborative approach. I will tell you why, how. It facilitates effective business agreements. HIPAA talks about business associates, right? We have a strong vendor management through the risk-based approach we are talking about. We need to have a kind of strong system in each and every aspect what you're trying to do. Provides support to achieve privacy compliance. To whom? To start with you and me, to our stakeholders, obviously to the regulatory requirements in GDPR, our regulators. Even in India, we are going to soon have Data Protection Authority of India, European Commission. We need to be very clear, regulatory authorities, contractual requirements, obviously with my customer, business requirements and so on, and clarifies the roles and responsibility, any system, governance mechanism in place, right? Is it a top-down approach? What is the role of my top management? What am I supposed to do? If an incident has been found, am I going to just go like a common man today in India, or as a responsible citizen, I'm going to take it on my hand and then inform the corresponding concerned authorities? Question. Yeah, this is where it helps you and me. I know it is perfectly a theoretical part, which all of us know in the call. My interest is to set the context and what we are talking about it. Now, this slide should help you and me. The questions, whatever I put it, the benefits, whatever I talked about it, do we have regulations, standards, frameworks? Obviously, plenty. No need to worry about with respect to. We say on a lighter side, right? There is no problem with respect to the availability of the law. The problem is with respect to the implementation, obviously. Coming back here, starting with EU GDPR, probably I am also a little bit, inclined or influenced probably by GDPR. GDPR need not be, but let it be. The very fact that since May 25th, 2018, the GDPR's new avatar from the directives to regulations, when it had come, the whole world's look on so-called privacy. Wow, everybody started looking at it in different way. I will not say that only May 25th, 2018 is the privacy bond day. No. We all know 1947 in the UN resolution article 12 beautifully talks about privacy as the fundamental right of a human being. Fair enough. In 1970s and 80s, if you really see the history of the privacy, there are best practices emerged across different regions, different countries and so on, right? Then we talk about CCPA, PDPB India. PDPB is not lagging behind. By the way, even in the last 2 days, we have discussed many times. Let's not think that as if we do not have a data protection law in our country. Wrong to say. As we all know, Section 43A of our IT Act 2000/2008, the due diligence part, the reasonable security practices, beautifully addressing the data protection, right? The only thing now, because of the Puttaswamy judgment, we are talking about, the government is talking about bringing out as a separate law, carving out of the Section 43A and as a separate law, which is at the bill stage. Quite interestingly, we had the first day inaugural session by Justice B.N. Sri Krishna, who himself authored that law. We all heard him, right? I was quite impressed that we all struggled to interpret each and every bullet of that 50-page or 100-page PDF document. He just made it to all of us in 45 minutes, beautifully the extracts of that law. All right, we have multiple ISO standards. We have HIPAA as a particular sectoral law in US. We have PDPA Singapore since 2012. We are talking about PIPEDA of Canada, whatnot. All these were concentrating on security. And obviously today we are talking about privacy. I wanted to pass a message. As all of us know, privacy, security goes hand in hand. I'm just put only some extracts. As we all know in the call, there are plenty of other standards and sectoral guidelines, domain specific, industry specific, like PCI DSS, business continuity 22301, cyber security, cloud security, compliance regulations related to each automobile industry to medical, etc. Quite interesting. The second session today, talking about IoTs with respect to healthcare industry. By the way, I am also from the healthcare industry. I can correlate what kind of stringent laws and regulations existing. The medical device, 80,001 and 2 cybersecurity assessment becomes a vital role in terms of identifying the risks or the harm which can happen to the patient or to the user or to the environment. Now, what I'm trying to say in this slide, to give you the enough confidence that we have multiple standards, multiple regulations, multiple frameworks available to take care of you and me. I'm trying to put into this slide some of the few important, standards or frameworks to set the context for my further discussions on the slides. We have ISO IEC 27701, which is prescribing the PIMS requirements, right? Privacy Information Management System requirements. We all know, started in 2019, beautifully sitting on these standards of 27001 and 27002. I'm sure all of us know, even though it is an auditable and certifiable standard, it cannot be certified exclusively independently. It has to be implemented, certified along with 27 and 27002. All right. We have Bureau of Indian Standards, BIS 17428, which had come in 2020, only for us, India. It's a guideline through which you can establish, implement, maintain, continually improving the data protection management system. I call it as DPMS. Yeah, that's what the guideline also talks about. HIPAA, Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. Since 1996, it's existing, addressing the privacy and security. Oh, beautiful. Of what? Protected health information. Yeah, little difference. It is addressing the healthcare patients, healthcare data of patients. HIPAA beautifully tells us there are some specifications which are required. That means it's mandatory, which can be also, there are some requirements called as addressable, in the sense that I might be able to tailor it as per my organization context and my business needs. Very good. By the way, HIPAA is not a certification, as you and me know. It's a guideline, it's a standard, it's a framework. Now, how will I confirm myself that I am adhering to, as an organization, adhering to the principles of HIPAA and hence HITRUST? Oh, beautiful. Please be with me. If there are questions in any one of our mind in the call, why PDPSI and what is the role of FDPPI? That's where I am putting this HIPAA and HITRUST. HITRUST is a private initiative, industry initiative, which provides the common security framework for the organizations which is doing the processing of the data, collecting, archiving, modifying, whatever, the entire processing. And it includes all the frameworks, including COBIT, NIST framework, other frameworks, etc. And then it gives us beautifully a kind of confidence. If you are going for a HITRUST kind of certification, obviously you are with the HIPAA. Probably be with me. That's why I said we all should be happy here that FDPPI had come out with PDPSI as a framework, industry initiative, which is already communicating with other standards and laws. Of course, we do have other frameworks like NIST framework. I talked about data privacy framework specifically for the privacy, and we have privacy from DSA, Data Security Council of India, right? Now, quickly, when we talk about cybersecurity, what we are trying to do, we are trying to address the risks related to the confidentiality, integrity, availability of the assets. Fair enough. What are we trying to do in privacy? We are trying to see, is there any harm or the risk emerging out of my data processing? What's data processing? Anything and everything, right? You are just be a vendor collecting the data. You are not doing anything. Yeah, you are a processor. You are doing something. So this is Article 4 definition of your GDPR. Beautifully talks about it, which holds good on any regulation, any law. And what you are trying to do, we need to really look at what kind of cybersecurity risks or incidents emerging out of these kind of privacy related risks we need to be aware of. Yeah. Doing it one by one will not help you and me. That's where I really like this, where the problems arising from any of the data processing is going to be creating problem for the data subject, in terms of the discrimination or economic loss to him, and hence that organization is going to be having a problem. You and me know very well the 4% of annual global turnover penalty. It's hanging on the organization's heads. That's why we need to be very, very careful. What is the solution I have to take care of both the privacy and security? We all know security, information security, ISO standard 27001, 2013 version beautifully addresses the different components across the organization. Information security, by the way, is not just equivalent to your IT security. IT security is one component, probably subset of information security. What are all other security? Human resource security, administration security, the environmental security, physical security, compliance part, business continuity. If organization is involved in developing any kind of software, etc., we are talking about the software development, maintenance, any kind of risks emerging out of. So there is an information security component. It starts with beautifully the top level commitment. By the way, I really wanted to address my view here. I was hearing for the last 2.5 days of all the speakers. Question always on whose responsibility? Whose responsibility? Is it a top down or it's a bottom up? Be with me. My understanding, having worked with multiple organizations, any process improvement program need to have the blessings of the top management. Top management need to be involved in not only just providing the resources and moving out. That's why we have a strong, stringent government calls. I have call in my organization on every Thursday with my bosses, right? What's happening? It's not just to track you. It's not just to monitor you and me. It is to ask you, hey, do you need any kind of resources from me? Any kind of support from me? So it always starts from the top. Look at the high level structure of the ISO standard starting from 2012. It addresses the leadership and commitment as clause 5. It sets the tone for the organization in providing the policy, providing the resources, providing the technology, providing the direction. If we do not have the leadership commitment, believe me, no process improvement program will take off. Fair enough. Coming back here, if I'm talking about the data protection management system, what I'm going to do? Yeah, what we are doing, we are starting with management commitment, roles and responsibility, implementation charter, moving on to policy, moving on to processes, moving on to awareness of training to my people, maintaining the records, performing a risk management. Hey, risk management plays a vital role. In a project planning, we simply say that, if you are not planning, you are actually failing to plan. Like that risk management, if you are not really looking at the risk at the initial stages, believe me, I think we are planning to fail ourselves, right? Risk management, supplier management, data transfers, extra territorial jurisdiction need to be addressed, and monitoring and controls. Why I put this actually on both the sides, left and right, just to get the kind of, the idea, there is a big overlap. Both is going to work hand in hand. That's the message, right? And if you look at it, the Lefkowitz, the senior privacy officer advisor of NIST, beautifully giving the quote, privacy and security are related, but they are two distinct topics, concepts, as you and me know. But please be aware, just by implementing a good security posture will not assure you in terms of providing the security. Fair enough. Now I have this kind of frameworks to summarize here, to bringing the concept of today's discussion. What is the need for a unified framework? I have multiple ISO standards. I have multiple regulations, as we saw. By the way, I'm sure all of you know that at this point of time, across globe, we are talking about 132 countries, right? Either enacted a privacy law or in the process of enacting a law. Quite interesting, 132 laws we are going to manage. Especially think about India kind of country where we are being, recognized as a data processing hub across the globe. Especially Bangalore, if I had to really further coming down, and people, places like important metros we are talking about, where we have multiple IT companies, multiple manufacturing sectors, global village, right? I'm working with multiple customers from different regions, USA, Singapore, European Union and India also not lagging behind with respect to personal data protection law. Then HIPAA coming into picture and PCI DSS is there. Think about it. Now, the third important aspect as we talked about different frameworks. So as I said, are we in a kind of situation that we are looking at? Do we need a framework which is going to help you and me to handle, cater to the needs of multiple standards, multiple regulations, and multiple frameworks? Obviously, the answer is yes. I'm very happy to introduce the framework, the standard called PDPSI, Personal Data Protection Standard of India. Very happy and proud to say that brainchild of Mr. Navi from FDPPI, and I had a kind of chance to work with him closely on this in terms of reviewing and etc. Quite interestingly, what is going to help you and me? Think about that 4% annual global turnover problem. Believe me, I'm sure this is going to be the solution. What's PDPSI? Look at it, it's a open, and I will add additional bullet here, free standard. You can just go to the FDPPI website and you will be able to download it. It's not like any other management system where you and me need to buy. And objective is to help the enterprises, including the small and medium too. Why did I put it in a separate bullet in a bracket? Because other standards and frameworks, I'm not trying to compare, I'm trying to give you the best of PDPSI, but at the same time to draw your attention. What we are talking about in other standards, I need to have the 27001 and 27002 as a base standard on which my 27701 is going to sit, or any other framework, wherein here it's a self-contained regulation, self-contained principles already. You can use this to implement in your organization. No cost involved in terms of external. If you have the capacity, resources, skill and competence in the organization, please go ahead and implementing this PDPSI. You may also go for a formal certification. FDPPI really already have a kind of process, systems in place, certification bodies in place, consultants and trainers are in place, right? And we also have a kind of mechanism at FDPPI, DTS, Data Trust Code. Quite interesting. We all know the current situation of Personal Data Protection Bill of India. Again, I'm using the word bill. It is at the bill stage. Now we have, let's say, 50-page PDF document which clearly says that what has to be done. Fair enough. Do we have how these has to be done? Any standard for that matter will tell only the what part and how part you and me have to do. Look at 27001 what part and 27002 as a guideline how part. Now in India we do not have for PDPB because it is going to be the how part probably. Some of the information is going to be shared by Data Protection Authority of India. Interestingly, FDPPI, we have proactively, I would say, code of ethics or competence, etc. We had already brought out that how it is going to be implemented. That is the key. It's a magic wand, encompasses the global. As I talked about, it is going to help you and me in terms of Indian law. It's meant for handling the multiple data protection law. Look at it, what I'm trying to say. That's why I put the HIPAA there in the first slide, right? We said that it is going to have the standard specification and addressable component. Here we are talking about the same standard and implementation specification, addressing the PDPB and also the DTS, GDPR, PDPA Singapore, CCPA, whatnot, DIFC, your NIST framework, DSCI framework, and 17428. Now this is the solution what we, right? And at the top level, it is introducing us the standard specification 12, which is the guiding force. And we have 50 implementation specification to work on. And these 50 implementation specifications are beautifully addressing all the expectations of 27001, 27002, 27701, British Standard 112, BS, IS 17428 and so on. At the bottom level, I have the flexibility to tailor based on my organizational context and arrive at my own personal data protection compliance management system. Look at the keyword here, PDP CMS. We are not talking about only the data protection management system. We are talking about protection and compliance, adhering to both. Quite interesting. That's why I said we have already done. You do not have to worry about it. We have the kind of mapping. We have ensured that it is being, taken care of many of the things. And all of you know, Mr. Navi, I don't have to tell about the moment he hears some new law, we have in our FDPPI, the process, immediately he works on it to understand what is that new. We have one of our session, Jnanavadi seminar to understand the extracts of that law, where it's going to differ and so on. So trying to reiterate my point again, it starts with the top management commitment, none less than the board member, none less than the MD of the company, CEO of the company. We strongly believe in, that's what PDPSI promotes it. We need to have a strong leadership commitment. We need to have a clear-cut understanding of the scope of the applicable laws. As I said that as a data processing organization, you might have to work on multiple customer, which is requiring multiple adherence of laws. We need to be very clear. It's helping us in terms of implementing the privacy by design, like any other standard. We really focused discussion. And obviously, I think in my opinion, at this point of time, maybe few more could be existing, but very strongly it is promoting the establishing the data trust code, and it is approved and signed by none less than the top management, and it is also giving the provision to go for a certification process. So typically what we do, you need to really look at the gap analysis, and based on your organization's risk appetite, that what you can really withstand, what you can avoid, what you can mitigate. Based on that, you come out with your report, as well as based on that approved implementation charter, which is baselined by your boss. The standard implementation specification, what I talked about 12, which encompasses the best practices. We have the model implementation specification, which is optional. That's where I said you can take it and tailor it as per our organizational need. But be with me, like ISO 27001, statement of applicability, 114 controls. You may exclude based on the need of the organization or context of the organization. As an auditor, I'll be looking at the logic, the reason behind the exclusion or the inclusion, right? The same thing concept over here. And then the entire audit process will be based on the approved implementation charter. Very in a nutshell, I wanted to give you the gist of what is the standard specifications, which is really driving across the organization. You need to have a strong compliance plan, like your quality plan, based on the specified law. How are you going to do? Effective governance mechanism need to be there. Risk mitigation is the key focus. Privacy by protection at the entry level, entity level, at the organizational level, and appropriate data classification need to be done. It needs to be tagged beautifully against that particular law, against that particular business unit which is really handling. Compliance responsibility at the operational level, that means the implementation level we are talking about. So top down, it is coming up. Effective communication plan within the organization, 7.4 of your ISO we are talking about here, internal, external, and technical controls need to be in line with the risks what we have identified, and effective policy controls shall be implemented to ensure an appropriate compliance culture. Oh, beautiful, beautiful bullet. It come out very strongly in the last 2.5 days. I could recollect quickly, being part of all the sessions. 1, top management commitment. 2, risk management. 3, the attitude or the culture of the organization, compliance culture. Otherwise, we cannot really implement it. And data trust core processes, we need to have it. Responsibility in terms of that implementation specification 50, what I talked about, like in ISO, how we said that IT controls, HR security controls, administrative and physical security controls, the same thing, we have beautifully grouped it under management, data protection officer's office, legal responsibility, HR, and technology. Again, to assure you, all these 50 controls have been beautifully mapped with the kind of standards, whatever we have. I'm not going to have that all the 50. So I just thought I will give you the gist of that, what we are talking about here. Look at one of the control, discovery, consent tagging, and inventory of personal data. Obviously, any privacy movement need to start with the inventory of the data, what you have. Data flow from where to where, and how are we going to, what is the risk involved there? Who is passing, who is receiving? Today, we do not have a big kind of awareness probably. That's what had come out also. So we need to be very, very careful. And DTS I talked about, data trust core. all the 50 implementation specifications are going to be looked by the data auditor. By the way, FDPPI has got a separate module in training the data auditors. As you and me know, agree, performing an auditor role for an information security is totally different in performing an auditor role in QMS and performing a role of an auditor, for example, for ISO 13485 medical products, believe me, right? Same concept here. We need to be really formally trained on to understand how to perform a data audit. And DTS assessment, the implementation specification prescribed by PDPSI would be taken as the base, not your implementation charter, because the auditor need to be very clear that why you have excluded some of the specifications. And then he is going to assign a score. Just to give you in a nutshell, model implementation specification and approved implementation charter is going to be the base for performing the DTS, and auditor is going to go through each and every 50 controls. He is going to give you the kind of weightage, percentage. Finally, the score would be coming out, and the score could be published on the publicly available websites based on the what you call organized requirement of the regulation and so on. For example, in Indian PDPB, we are talking about the DTS to be data audit to be performed for a significant data fiduciaries annually. It's a mandate. And tomorrow, if DPAI, Data Protection Authority of India, is going to say that these companies, based on certain criteria, need to be publishing, we need to publish it. Certification process, very quickly, to tell you that gap assessment would be the beginning. Risk management practices, what you have, risk policy, risk management process, we will look at it. From there, we will look at the model implementation specification. From there, we are going to get the adapted, approved by the management, your implementation charter, where the auditor is going to look at it and he is going to finally conclude one of the binary statement that whether you are satisfactorily performing or it requires an improvement. Do we have a system today to perform this kind of audits? As I said, very happy to introduce that FDPPI is an accredited certification body. The certification body markets the service. So we have, FDPPI has collaborated with around 10 certification bodies at this stage, and they will be taking this process to their customers, and FDPPI will be a kind of accreditation body, right? And they are going to conduct the audit. FDPPI have got a process in terms of looking at the audit report, ensuring that there is no bias associated to it, and the auditors are going to be approved by FDPPI board. By the by, we already have at FDPPI 9 certification bodies, and there are 4 from Bangalore, 3 from Mumbai, one for each from Delhi and Haryana. 25 data auditors, PDPSI compliance auditors are already on board, and 10 consultants have been certified so far. About 135 more persons are in different stages of certification, and we are also have FDPA has aligned with the DNV, the certification body, in terms of promoting the DTS score also. I thought I will, to summarize before I conclude, just one example as we discussed so far, ISMS 27001, on which the PIMS is going to sit, or even our DPMS might sit 17428. And believe me, to collect all these things, to collate all these things, to combine all these things, to integrate all these things, the PDPSI framework is going to help you and me going forward, right? Probably I'm talking about like integration. That's why I used the word unified framework over there. PDPSI, essence of the essential, right? But different by far when compared to any other frameworks. I really like this slide. I'm sure that all of us, being the privacy and security professionals, will agree with me. Think about it, think about it. More and more awareness need to be coming into the organization, right? And this would be my last slide. I think I have already bypassed almost 10 minutes. Thank you very much. And if you have any specific questions, which will we be taking it through our moderating session, because I'm also going to be a moderator for this session with 5 of the eminent personalities, and probably any of the questions which is coming out, we will take it out. Now we will take it up during the time, number 1. Number 2, Mr. Navi, being the author of FDPPI, he will also be there to ask any of our questions. Yeah. And I will, by now, I would like to introduce my eminent